Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 1149 of Screw the Commute podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about software and software as a service items that I used. I probably forgot some because there's going to be 42 on this list. Okay. Now, I don't want you to get all whacked out and think, oh my God, I got to have 42 different things to be successful online. Well, remember, I've been doing this for 32 years. Okay. And a lot of stuff has gone by the wayside and been replaced with new stuff, but you don't have to do everything that I'm talking about today. But there's a lot of good stuff here that maybe you didn't know about. So there'll be 42 of them. And I hope you didn't miss episode 1148. That was gadgets that would help you out. And of course, all the ones that I mentioned, I think there was 25 of them. I don't have all of them because they don't make sense for me. But there are some that I forgot to tell you. And that has to do with tripods and mini tripods and phone holders for your cell phone when you're doing videos. So stick that on episode 1148. Anytime you want to get to a back episode, you go to screwthecommute.com/ and then the episode number. Gadgets was 1148. But you got to add the tripods and phone holders on that one. All right, so let's get into today's. Oh, one other thing I forgot to tell you. We just put up our podcast masterclass. Free on YouTube. I've charged as much as $500 or more for this class one-on-one with people. So definitely, if you want to learn how to be a great podcast guest, and I'm not talking about good or okay, I'm talking about great podcast guests and get invited back over and over again, then you want to listen to the first part of this. Then the second half is if you are interested in or even thought about having your own podcast. This is how I got invited to the White House. I've got these Facebook hacks to get in front of hundreds of thousands of people and so forth. So you go to screwthecommute.com/pod, P-O-D, and that'll take you, that's a short link that'll take you to YouTube where you can watch that. And do me a favor, even if you can't watch the whole thing at once, let it play to the end because that helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And of course, like and comment, and I'll respond to you personally. Okay, let's get into today's episode. I'm going to go quickly through here. I might stop and comment on some of these things to tell you what they are because some of them have weird names. And some of them, you've probably used them already. So let's get going here. All right, ChatGPT. I use that like crazy all the time. I use Claude for more writing stuff. And along with that, I use QuillBot to make sure anything that I have Claude write for me sounds like me because I put all my samples into Claude and then I put it in, when it writes something for me, I put my 2 cents worth in and then I put it into QuillBot that says, hey, this looks 2% like it was bot written and 98% looks like it's Tom. Okay, well, that's pretty good. Most of my stuff, I get 100% looks like it was written by me. If you go through that training, I don't know what episode that is. Okay, another thing for video is CapCut. You may have been seeing some of my Facebook stories and reels where it's, really crazy, good editing. And it's a lot of times it's just me plugging some pictures or video into CapCut. Captions is another one that we use for captions on our videos, and it'll do a lot of cool stuff. HeyGen, HeyGen, is where we do the clone, the video clone of me. So when we're doing you can just type in a script and there I'll be in different outfits and everything, delivering the lines. All right, so Hydra, Hydra, that's something when we made the babies of me with a little baby with a beard and, talking, in a baby voice. We use Hydra. Opus clips is good for divvying up a bunch of, if you have a long video, cutting it up into little shorts and it's pretty good, pretty darn good. We can't use all of them. They don't make sense because they're out of context, but we can use 30 to 40% of the ones that it clips out for us. So that's Opus Clips. 11 Labs makes a voice clone of you. So you can do a short version or a really in-depth. I put 3 hours of my voice into it to get a really super high quality voice clone, but you can do it as little as 3 minutes or a couple minutes. That's 11 Labs. That's spelled out, ELEVEN Labs. And then a lot of simple stuff, Gmail. Google Alerts is where you can put some keywords in, your name and your competitors' names, and it'll alert you when they're in the news. Outlook is one of the email programs we use. Aweber is another email program that we use, very highly respected. Savicom is another one that we use for email. You might say, well, how come you just don't use one, Tom? Well, I've been around 32 years and things come and go. All right. And so, and it's good to not have all your eggs in one basket also. Kartra is the shopping cart we currently use. I'm not the happiest with it, but that's what we're using right now. Elgato is a company that creates our StreamDeck and our teleprompter and our lights that I can control by sitting here rather than having to stand up and go set the lights up and turn them on and come back and sit down and make sure they're looked right and all that. StreamDeck is one where you can make shortcuts on this keypad and do open programs, turn the lights on and off, do all kinds of stuff with it. So that's a StreamDeck. I didn't have that till within the last 6 months, all right, after 32 years. So you don't have to have that stuff. Adobe Premiere Pro is their highest end video editing software I have. Mark, our video guy, uses the Mac thing. I forget what it's called. I use Adobe Audition. That's what I'm recording into right now for this podcast. We use Adobe Creative Cloud to have access to all kinds of stuff, PDF and all the kind of things that Adobe will do. Libsyn, Libsyn, is what distributes this podcast. So we have loads and loads of places that play podcasts. And so I have accounts at all of them. And then all I have to do is upload once to Libsyn, and it distributes it to all these other places. So I only upload it once, and Larry actually does that for me. And also, remember, you definitely want to listen to that podcast masterclass at screwthecommute.com/pod, P-O-D. And like I said, please let it play to the end and then go back and listen later if you can't listen to it all at once, but take good notes. I mean, it'll really, really rock your world as a guest, where you can start that immediately. Having your own podcast takes a little bit more planning and stuff, but starting guesting and being on other people's podcasts and getting in front of all those audiences, amazingly powerful. But I'm telling you how to do it at a super high level, and a lot of things that I'm teaching on that on that podcast masterclass is things that nobody else is doing. And you will stand out like so much to the host, and you'll impress the heck out of them if you do the stuff I'm telling you on that masterclass. Okay, let's see where I'm at here. Roadcaster app. So I have this thing where the microphone goes into this little mixing kind of board called a Roadcaster Duo. It's a small one. It's not the big super one that's got, for bands and stuff. So just love it. It's really great. And it helps a better sound on the microphone too. It has presets for the microphones. iPicky.com, IPICCY.com is a totally free thing where I can edit photos. Now, I don't need it as much as I used to because of just telling ChatGPT's image 2 model, which is great, what I want, but I still use it all the time. If I had to go and resize a photo or put some arrows on things and, and you can, I used to create my Facebook stories from scratch in it. But again, now I can just tell ChatGPT to do it. But at any rate, it's a very handy thing. It's totally free. All right, fal.ai, fal.ai. If you've heard my AI hacks masterclass, it's a place where you put so much money up, like $10, and then you can use all of these fancy AI models, Gemini and Kling and VO, and all these are in there, and it just subtracts a little bit from your $10 every time you use them. Roboform is something I use for password manager, highly encrypted, and it keeps all kinds of other stuff, social security numbers, safe combinations, things like that. Roboform. Keyboard Maestro is a thing on the Mac where you can, again, make little shortcuts, and it'll type in War and Peace if you want. It'll type, and that's something I used to promote short keys all the time, but I'm working more on the Mac now because the podcast is done here. So I'm sitting here a lot of times, three times a week doing the podcast. So I learned more about running a Mac. So Keyboard Maestro is good for that. And I just recently got this thing. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's Mouse Posse or Mouse Pose, Mousepose. And I think it has that little thing above the E. So Posey or something. But it makes a big, when I click the mouse, it lights up red, and it's good for screen capture videos if you don't have Camtasia or some expensive one. It lets people, whenever you're doing screen capture training videos, people in the old days you couldn't see where the mouse was, and you'd lose your you couldn't track what they were talking about. But this, you click or you double click and it lights up twice as big and all those kinds of things. And it has, I think when you click, it has a keyboard sound. And so that's Mouse Pose, Mousepose. Another obvious one is Zoom. Use that all the time. OBS is what we're going to be using for live streaming when I roll out my show, Highly Educated Idiots. And also it's going to be connected to a thing called Restream, which this is all stuff when you're doing live outside of YouTube Live and Facebook Live. Dropbox is the backup thing. iCloud is a backup thing. Of course, Chrome and Safari browsers. Now, there's all kinds of browsers, Brave and DuckDuckGo and things like that, but I just use Chrome and Safari. I use Chrome, basically, and I only use Safari if something doesn't work or if I'm having trouble with Chrome. Google Maps we use all the time, right? I'm reading so I wouldn't forget all of these software programs. I'm reading off of the note function in the Mac that I'm working on right now. So that's notes, and it's called Notepad on a PC. Microsoft Word, use that to write my ebooks and convert, when I'm all done with Word, convert it to PDF. That's Adobe stuff. Google Sheets I've used lately because I don't have the whole Microsoft suite on this Mac, so I don't use it enough to warrant paying a lot of money for it. So Google Sheets, Google Drive. Kindle Create is another software to make Kindle ebooks. They give you the software, and not only will it help you make Kindle ebooks, you click another button and it helps make the book ready for print, so print on demand. Logi Tune, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but this, I have an external webcam, a Logitech webcam, in addition to my Elgato teleprompter up there. But it allows you to, tune the camera, make it zoom or how wide the shot you want it to be and that kind of stuff. Meetup is another thing I use. I got a couple hundred members in my Meetup here in the Hampton Roads area. And Camtasia is the screen capture software that I use on the PC. But I'm looking to have one on the Mac, and I don't want to buy a new $300 Camtasia to do it. So I'm looking at some other ones for the Mac. So there was 42 different things I use. And like I said, you don't need all of them, but some of them you may have never heard of. And some of them you say, oh, well, if Tom's using that, it must be pretty good. Like for instance, if you do a podcast, you go use Libsyn to distribute it for you. If you decide you want to up your game on audio, you get a Roadcaster Duo and hook it up with a decent microphone. So there's all kinds of stuff there. You can go back and listen to this thing over again. Of course, it will be in the show notes. So there you go. That's 42 different things I use, and I'm sure I forgot some because I was just sitting here going through, going to applications and writing down all the ones I use, but I'm sure I must have missed something. And software as a service, that's called SaaS, SaaS. That's where you log on to things. And a lot of these ones that I said today, HeyGen, Hydra, Opus Clips, 11 Labs, Gmail even. I mean, it's all software as a service where you're logging into things. So it's easy for me to forget one of those. So there you go. Hey, I'm telling you, go over to that screwthecommute.com/pod and listen to that masterclass and take good notes. And even if you don't do your own podcast, which, like I said, that got me invited to the White House and all kinds of cool things. And it allowed me to get to people that I couldn't really get to normally because you have a podcast. But the guesting is something you can immediately do and go right to the top of the heap if you do all these things I'm telling you about, because most guests don't do them. I've had over 500 guests on Screw the Commute, and there's not been one that's done all the things that I teach you in this. But I'm the one that's been invited back 13 times and been on some of the biggest shows in the world. All right. And some of them don't normally have a person more than once, and I've been on 3 times. All right. So check it out at screwthecommute.com/pod. And then, of course, if you want help on this and all the other million things you got to be successful online, check out my mentor program, greatinternetmarketingtraining.com, and my school at imtcva.org, certified to operate by Chev. And I will catch you on the next episode if you're ever around after you're trying to fool around with 42 different software programs. All right. Catch you later.